Hello world! In this tutorial we're going to build this simple yet fun project using HTML, CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. If you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. Now let's get into the code. Alright, so here we have an empty CodePen project. We'll start with the HTML. We're going to have a container, and inside let's create the three circles, which will be the traffic lights. Circle times 3, and then Emmet will nicely create this for us. Okay, and these circles will be 3 different colors. So let's add the colors here as an attribute on the div so we can take it in the JavaScript. Color, this will be red, the next one will be yellow, and the last one will be green, like that. So we're basically going to use these attributes to set a class for the circles, and then those circles will be red, yellow or green. By default, let's have the red one be activated. So basically these attributes will activate the circles. Now let's get into the CSS. Alright, so I copied over some base style for the body. We want a flex element, minimum height and some margin. Okay, we can create a container like that. First let's add it a width and a height. The width will be 70 pixels and the height will be 200 pixels. And let's have a background color so we can see it. Alright, it's white, let's change it to this greyish color. Perfect. And by adding border radius 50 pixels, we basically make the corners rounded so it looks much like a traffic light. Okay, let's create the circles and then we're going to position them inside the traffic light. So the circle will have same width and height of 40 pixels, and the background color of, let's say, something dark with opacity like 0.3, something like that. Make the border radius 50% to make them rounded, and we're going to have position relative, because if you remember, here on the right we have some kind of inner shadowing, and we're going to build that using the circle after pseudo element. But before that, let's position the circles inside the container. We can do that easily using display flex, align item center, and justify content space between, plus the flex direction should be column. And now you can see the circles have an equal amount of space between them. We can add a padding of 15 pixels and they go nicely through the center. So it starts to look more like a traffic light. Let's create that shadowy effect or whatever you want to call it. So as I said, on the circle after pseudo element, let's set the content first, because this is required for the after and the before pseudo element. Next, let's set a width of 30 pixels and height of 30 pixels. We want that to be a little smaller than the parent. Let's add the background color of white so we can see it. Okay, and we also need to set position absolute so we can see it, like that. Just added the background color so we can see it for now, but we're going to use the border to create that effect. So we are going to have border right be 4 pixels solid and white with a little bit of opacity, 0.6, like that. And now we can remove the background color. So you can see that we start to have some kind of effect. Let's add the border radius 50% as the parent. Alright, and what's left to do is to position it. So let's add the top 5 pixels. Alright, and now we can see it has the shadow or light effect or whatever you want to call it. What's left to do is to have separate classes. So basically add a color for the circles when they have the red, yellow and green classes. So let's do that. On the circle.red, we're going to have a background color of, let me copy the color like that. And we're also going to have a box shadow. 0, 0, 20 pixels, 5 pixels and the same color. Okay, now you can see it lights up. Let's copy this over. We're going to have the same for the yellow and the green. We just swipe out the colors. This is the yellow color and here we have the green color. We can't see it there because we haven't applied the classes. So let's apply them so you can see how it looks. Yellow and green. Alright, so now you can see they all light up. What we're going to do next in the JavaScript will be to loop over nicely using a set interval, and we're going to change the classes. Okay, let's remove this because we don't need initially. And inside the JavaScript, first we get all the circles, document, query selector all circle, like that. And we're going to save the active light. Active light will be 0, so the first one. And also keep in mind that it's let because we want to change this variable. Next, let's set a set interval, which will run a function change light every second. So let's create this function, change light. This will basically change the light. Okay, the first thing will be to remove this custom class on the circle. So we know the active circle because we have the active light here saved. So we can do circles, active light, class name, and we can set it to circle. So basically this will remove the red class on the circle. Next, let's increment the active light value. Active light ++. And also let's don't forget to have an if statement. So if active light will be bigger than 2, we want to reset it because we only have 3 lights. If in case you want to create a traffic lights with, I don't know, 5 lights, you're going to change this to 4. So 5 minus 1. And the last thing we have to do is to get this property and set it to the class, because we already incremented the active light value. We can store the new current light element in a variable. So let's do that. Current light will be circles active light, like that. We did this because we're going to use it twice, so we don't repeat ourselves. Okay, so the current light class list, and we add on top of it the current light get attribute color, like that. So basically it will take the color attribute and it will set it as a class on the current light element. So that's basically it. As I said, a simple project. Maybe you have some crazy ideas to add on top of it. Add a stick here. I don't know. Be creative and make sure you share in the comments what you can build out of it. Thank you very much for listening. If you liked this tutorial, give it a like, subscribe for more content, and I see you in the next video. Bye.